Welcome friends. Welcome to video 4 of your CISA domain 3. I'm Anand here and I'll take you through this. This video would be a little small video because the topic which we are discussing is called business cases, and business case and its feasibility is something which is very important from every system development and its acquisition, but something which is not given its due in terms of how it has to be done. So in this video, what we will try to understand is what is a business case and what are the different type of feasibility which we need to study as part of any system development and its acquisition. And it's very important for us to know the importance of the concept of feasibility study. So these are the two topics which we will discuss as part of this video. So friends, let's dive in. So first, let's understand the term business case. Now, what is a business case? Imagine you are a CEO of a company and you would like to have a project to be done. It can be a system development project or any other project. The first question is, we need to put our investment into that. When I say investment, it can be resources in terms of people, it can in terms of money, in terms of vendors, you name it. Now, if I'm doing it, does it make sense for me to have that investment done? So I need to have a rationale for why I'm making this business investment. It can be for improving the business. It could be for customer satisfaction. It could be for better operational management. It can have hundreds of reasons why we are doing it. So the question comes is, we need to document as a business case the rationale for making that business investment. Resources in any organizations are not unlimited. Every organizations have a limited resources. How do I use it effectively? And that is something business case help me do that. And many a time when I'm actually documenting all my business case, I may decide that whether I want to go ahead with this investment or it is not a right investment at all. And further, I can also have a discussion on whether this is a kind of I can use as a tool to support the management decision making in terms of whether this investment would be useful, beneficial for the organization or not. Now that is what we call as the business case. It's something like what we can say, why are we doing what we are doing? And then there is another very important term which we should all understand in terms of business case and feasibility study, that is called as ROI. Now, return on investment is a very interesting terminology. It basically says a measure of operating performance and efficiency computed in this simplest form by dividing your net income by the total investment over a period it has been considered. Now, friends, there is another term also which is being used along with that, which we call as TCO. I'm sure you've heard about that, total cost of ownership. But ROI still remains one of the very important factor, and only because of one reason. Return on investment is something which will say that if we invest so much of money or resources in any system, what is the benefit we'll get over a period of time? Let me give you an example. Now, Airtel has set up something called My Airtel app, or that's something which they have actually promoted. Now, it was a self-service application, and they have invested a lot of money in terms of doing it. Now, the benefit of this is because now there is a self-service app, Airtel doesn't require to have a call center where people can call and get it resolved. Now, all the consumer of Airtel can resolve their issues themselves, and that is what it allows. So ROI is a very important factor which we have to look into, and these two terms also becomes important from the IS auditor perspective, because the IS auditors has to look into that what is the business case on which we were doing, and when we ultimately do post implementation review, this is something which becomes very important, that whether there was a business case for developing this application or acquisition of this application or system, and what was my return on investment which we could make out. So this is the reason of having importance of these two interesting terms. Moving forward, so as we were talking about, business cases are always there in terms of helping us to compare the cost and business benefit, and ROI comes as part of that. It also provides us a very detailed justification in terms of whether we should continue with this or not. I remember there is some time back I have read one very interesting thing that there was Australian Army or the Defense Forces. They wanted to have one integrated supply chain management system. Now they actually started with that, you know, and the first part in the system development, which we all know, was requirement gathering. But the requirement gathering for the defense forces, which is the Army, Air Force, and Navy, just the requirement gathering went for 1.5 years. And at that point of time, there was a decision taken by the head of defense forces that we don't want to go ahead with this project, because imagine if the requirement gathering has taken so much of time, how much time it will take for us to go ahead with that. And by the time we will be live with this, maybe the technology will change completely. So that is the reason we have one very important part in any project which we call as the feasibility study. And this comes as the next step of a business case. A business case is something where I'll be documenting everything about why we are going with that. But one of the key factor which acts in this one is what we call as the feasibility study. So let's try to understand this term in detail. In feasibility study, friends, what we do is we start with defining what is the project scope. So the project scope, what we are trying to do it, and you have to see, there is another different way which we call it as seeing the feasibility study, where you don't just try to see only one kind of feasibility, that is technical feasibility. Can it be done technically or not? That kind of things. But we try to see the feasibility also from the perspective of what we call it as, it can be legal feasibility. Today, if you want to develop an information system in India, which basically will allow, let's say, sports betting. Now it's illegal in India. You cannot do that. You can develop this application in US and UK, but not in India. Now there is an issue with legal feasibility also. Similarly, we have technical feasibility issues. If I want to develop something, application which should work on cloud as well as on a desktop, now this may be feasible, I'm not sure, but I'm just trying to tell you we have to see the technical feasibility. We have to also see the operational feasibility, how people are going to work on the system, whether people have any challenges in terms of using it. We need to see also what we call it as your social feasibility. Like there are some things which may not be, people may not be comfortable using it. So from all this perspective, what we do is we define the project scope, which is what is the project, how I'm doing it, and I will conduct a current analysis, which is nothing but what we call it as, in a very simple word, the term is as is, how I am doing it presently. So that is something which I'll be putting it as is. Okay, so this is my present setup. Okay, and then I am going to basically see what is my stakeholder needs, what is the things which my stakeholder asking me to have. So I need to see that and understand that correctly, and based on that I would put my recommended approach, because the same thing can be done in 20 different manner. So I need to see what is the best approach which I can follow in this, and whether this would help me to manage it well. And friends, when I put this recommended approach, I would also evaluate the cost effectiveness of the approach. You remember the term ROI? Because everywhere there are no unlimited resources which are there with the organizations. Based on the limited resources, I need to look into that, how best I can use it, manage it, and whether this is the best value for money. I will not say, when I say cost effective, you need to understand one very important thing. It is not the cheapest option or L1 option. We use a term called lowest bid, L1. No, cost effective basically mean, for the value for money. If I'm actually getting something, it is giving me at a kind of return of investment better than others, I would like to go for that. And finally, I need to conduct a formal review with all the stakeholders of the feasibility, because I need to see the feasibility from different angles, not just one angle. And that becomes the critical point in terms of managing it. So just to summarize, friends, in this video, we discussed about two very important elements. We talked about business case and we talked about feasibility study. And I also told you about different types of feasibility studies which is there. And from the perspective of business case, is actually a documented set of information which gives us complete thing why we are investing out here, what is we are trying to get achieve out of that whole investment information system, and how we can manage it. Okay, so happy reading, guys. I'll see you in the next video.